found a little girl during the Great Famine, but 300 years later in the war between immortals and demons, she had become the demon lord and ran me through with an arrow. She stood over my body like I was nothing. Chen Huai'an, when you betrayed me all those years ago, did you ever think it would come to this? But what she didn't know was that I chose to die by her hand. I had made a deal with the system, complete the mission, and I could go back to Earth. So 300 years ago, I stole the immortal sword, betrayed my sect, and reached the immortal sovereign realm, while he was thrown into the sect's dungeon, left to suffer. Otherwise, with my cultivation, how could I not dodge a sword from someone I trained myself? Standing before me was Luo Lingshuang, the only female demon lord this world had ever seen. My little junior sister. As I felt my life slipping away, I could only smile bitterly. Was any of this really worth it? She said nothing. She just yanked the hate-born sword out of my chest. Blood splattered across her face. She pinned me to the ground with her foot, and looked down at me from above. Those eyes that once shone clear as a mountain stream were now cold as thousand-year ice. But deep beneath that frozen surface, there was the faintest barely there tremor. Chen Huai'an, do you have anything left to say? I opened my mouth. It was full of blood. The system warned me. The mission required dying by her sword. I could not say anything that might shake her resolve, or the mission would fail, and I could never return to Earth. So I stayed silent. She crouched down. Her slender fingers gripped my chin. She forced my face toward hers, making me look her in the eyes. Chen Huai'an, I'm asking you one last time. Her face was full of killing intent, but her voice was trembling. Is there truly nothing you want to say to me? Of course I knew. She wanted to hear me say I'm sorry. She wanted me to admit that the betrayal was wrong. She wanted to hear it from my own lips, that everything back then was real, that the warmth was never a lie, that I pulled her back from the edge of death, with no other motive. I looked into her eyes, and managed a smile that looked worse than crying. A long silence. She waited, and finally her expression went completely cold. Fine. If you won't say it, then never say it at all. I stared at my own blood on the blade, and time seemed to drift back to the past. It was the era of the great snowstorm. Mountains and rivers locked in ice. Rivers run dry. Countless low-level cultivators and mortals frozen to death. Throughout that endless winter, frozen bodies lined the roadsides. In the face of such a catastrophe, everyone was just trying to survive. I had only been in this world for 3 days. Following the system's guidance, I found a crumbling thatched hut along the village road. The moment I pushed open the door, I saw her, a tiny figure curled up in the corner, wrapped in a tattered piece of burlap. She was so small, small enough that I could scoop her up with one arm, covered in frostbite and wounds, her breath so faint it was almost undetectable. When I crouched down and pulled her into my arms, she was as light as a dried leaf. Don't be scared, I'll get you out of here. The little girl didn't respond, but the moment I lifted her, her hand instinctively reached out and grabbed the hem of my robe, clutching it tight, like a drowning person clinging to the last piece of driftwood. I only learned her story later. Her name was Luo Lingshuang. Her mother had died the day she was born, and the villagers had driven her out. A 5-year-old child surviving at the very bottom of a world harsher than any cultivation realm, fighting stray dogs for scraps every day, sleeping in haystacks by the road. I had no idea how she had survived until the day I found her. Maybe the heavens just wanted her to suffer a little longer, to keep her alive. I took a job as an outer disciple at Xuantian sect, sweeping floors, chopping wood, hauling spirit stones, scrubbing pill furnaces, feeding spirit beasts. Whatever it took. 12 hours a day. Nothing but sleep and work. The pay was barely anything. Just enough for some coarse grain and cloth. But Luo Lingshuang grew up from 5 years old to 10.